This really doesn't apply to the answer to our question that we're looking for this semester. All right, the proposal. You're going up through the proposal already. I don't need to cover this. It was on the your guide.
Yeah, I've already been to the proposal, and I've already been to the proposal letter.
Okay, so any questions? Any questions?
What are the 5 attributes of a successful team?
You haven't gone over with team dynamics?
No, not yet.
Okay. Man, I learned about this almost 20 years after I got out of college. And it really, really made me think about interacting with people. And I think it really helped me interact with people better once I figured out this. Because the fact is, in our business, unless you're building a doghouse or a log cabin out in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains somewhere by yourself, we do everything in teams, right? The fact that you're sitting in this room says to me that you want to be the person that tells the rest of the team what to do. Right? We call that managing. The fact is, when we go out on that job site, how many times do you see Terry or Sam actually do anything toward building that building? They don't do nothing. They don't pick up a shovel. They don't pick up a rock. They don't move anything to where it needs to go. They don't do nothing. But they do tell them where it goes. They are the answer people. The first thing in teams is you're working with people. So you gotta know. I mean, how many teams you got this semester? 5? 5. So that means that there's at least 6 of you per team, right? 10. You got teams with 10?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. How many of them have 10?
All of them.
All of them. Wow, that's going to be a challenge. You know why? Because the fact is you're not going to like each other. And there's going to be at least 2 or 3 slackers in each team. I'm talking bona fide slackers that don't do anything. Yet your whole team's going to be judged on not on how you all interact. And that's the way we work every day. Our whole company, we could have the best presentation, the best content, the best everything, and one guy during the course of an interview could do something insignificant like pick his nose, and we could lose it because the action of one person. That's a little extreme, but we you know, a word coming out of one person's mouth that was not appropriate, guess what? Whoop, we might as well just go, huh? And just walk out. We'd be a lot more effective, efficient with our time. People. Now I gotta think on my feet.
So what were the 5 attributes?
I'm going through them. I just got one. 2. The system. You have to know the system that you're working in. In this case, you have a system, and it's described as a what? Proposal. Do everything. Read it, understand it, don't provide anything it doesn't ask, but provide everything it does ask. Right? So work within the bounds of the system. Make sure everybody knows that. 3. Identify problems and barriers. For college, full-time college students, most of you, how many of you are carrying full-time jobs or part-time jobs? Okay? So problems and barriers is not going to be a problem. Time is your problem. Right? You got football. Or do you have football?
Not this season. That was a low blow.
But the time is your challenge. Oh man, I can't help you. I can't do the schedule because, my girlfriend's all mad at me, or, just problems and barriers. It's going to happen, I promise you. You know what we ought to do? Gosh, you run them through at such a fast pace. We don't have time to talk and hear their stories about how they... part of it, we've talked about this, and part of what you have to do is you've got to evaluate each other, right? You're still doing that. I think that's huge. I found out that some of the most impressive people in my life are generals. Generals. And I worked a decade with a major general at the A&M system. And he was 33 years with the Corps of Engineers, 30 years with the A&M system. This guy was a machine. Big, old, and knew his stuff. And I come in, 32 years old, full of energy and opinions. And we had some knuckleheads working in our department. And he would walk around campus and I'd be complaining about Phil. That Phil, he's an idiot. And just going, he did this and I had to fix that. He did this. And he looked at me without hesitating and just said, as calm as he could be, guy, anybody can manage good people. So in your teams, you're going to have to manage the good people and you're going to have to manage the bad people. We're always kind of looking out at these teams to see who kind of assimilates to a position of leadership. That's kind of interesting. Fourth thing. People. Problems. Know your system. What was the fourth one? People. Problems. Know your system. I've lost them. I'll get them.
Phone a friend?
No.
Hey guys, what was that thing about don't put it up there unless you're prepared to take questions on it?
You know how long it took me to put these slides together? How much time do you think I spent putting these slides together? Huh? Yeah, 5 minutes. Only because you sent it to me.
That's inappropriate. I think y'all should leave. No, I'm joking.
We're trying to step in.
There's lots of... Well, oh, wait, you're evaluating. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Need a Coke?
I haven't thought about them in a year, Lana.
I'm just saying.
Oh, I got them from a book called Why Teams Don't Work. Harvey Robbins. Look it up. The one that can come up with the other two. There's a reward in it for you.
Who is it? Harvey Robbins?
Yeah, I'll think of it before I leave. Okay, let's get into some real work. We're going to get into means. All right. On your RS means, the first thing we always have to figure out when you come up with your estimates is the city cost index. And my 2008 is on page 694. So find Houston, Texas, for those of you that have a book. I see 1, I see 2, I see 3. How about in the back? You got it? I want someone from the back to find me what the Houston cost index is. Because I know what the 2008 says. Page 694.
It's page 715.
What's the Houston cost index? 86 point what? 0.2. What does that mean?
86% of...
So every dollar that it tells you, whatever it tells you, is needing to be adjusted by 0.862. So that's one baseline of the information. So a dollar in Houston, Texas, based on this book, is worth 86.2 cents. Okay? Got to know that. Location factors. Gosh, man, I didn't even know I had it up there. In 86, it was 87.8. You see what means is doing? They're taking all this data and cranking it, and it changed from 2008 to, what's your book? What date is your book? 12. So it's changed up to this percentage here. GC's on page 715. Maybe it's not in yours, but it's a percentage. GC's on page 715. Point is, there is a page that tells you what suggested GC's are. All right, so
We do the exercise
no,
now?
one more thing. Cost per square foot. I want you to look at the. Don't worry about it. I want you to look at these. What I'm looking at is the cost per square foot sections that talk about what different types of buildings cost. Square foot cost, yes. On mine it's page 780. When you get there and you look at it, my book starts off by saying apartments, auditoriums, automotive sales, banks, churches, country clubs, YMCAs, college classroom administration buildings, skip, hospitals, housing, jails, funeral homes, skip, libraries, assisted living, and then finally I see something called research, labs, and facilities. Anybody have any idea what a health and biomedical sciences building should be classified as? Okay, so that gives you one answer. So for my book, what is your 2012? Since I'm looking at 2008, my book says that it should cost $268. What does the 2012 say? How much?
For research laboratories and facilities,
Yes.
unit cost, $95.50.
Total. No. You're getting total. Total.
Total budget cost.
Total project cost. Should be the top line. Research labs and facilities.
Oh, 207.
Is that with overhead and profit?
Total means everything. 207? Go to
What is it?
the highest number in that
It
category.
says 1/4 median and 3/4.
300. 300. Now what am I going to do with that 300?
Multiplied by 0.86.
0.86, which should make it somewhere around between $280 and $300. Okay, so there's your first answer to what does it cost.
Why do you times it by the .86?
Do what?
Why do you times it by the .86?
Because
That's a
the
huge
data that made up that 300 and whatever was accumulated over all the country. You know, San Francisco, New York is a lot more expensive than Houston, Texas. So what they do is they come up with these city cost factors to adjust, believe it or not, from Houston, Texas to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Anybody have an opinion? Houston, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Higher or lower? Make it easy.
We're lower.
Houston's lower. How many of you think Houston's lower than Tulsa, Oklahoma? How many of you think it's higher? Higher. Houston, Texas is about 10% higher than Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
But you got to know that kind of stuff, right? When you're answering that question. And then the other thing I thought was really cool that I didn't even know was there is proportionate quantities. because this is leading us into your little exercise. Humor me. Proportionate quantities. Mine, I'm looking at page number 730. Look at that. I thought this was the coolest thing. This is what I classify as a shortcut, because every one of you in this exercise priced that concrete exercise. And get ready. We're gonna come up here and write your information. Get ready. But you priced it on the basis of what? Cost per, well, I saw some square foots and I saw some cubic yards. Generally, I think about concrete in, how do you think about it? Cubic yards. Yeah, I always think about it in cubic yards because that's the way we buy concrete, cubic yards. So some of you I saw matrices where you had cubic yards of columns, cubic yards of girders, and then square foot of structural slab, or square foot of precast, or cubic yards of tilt-up, or square foot of tilt-up. Okay? This was the only thing I could see in the book that kind of helped me understand what concrete would cost on a pretty high level. Because remember, she didn't give you enough information to come up with quantities, right? So you really had to stretch to come up with that information. And I'm very curious, and I'd love to spend some time today, raise that up, and let's shut that off. Let's talk about how you came up with those quantities.
Let's give everybody a 2-minute break.
Okay, sure. That way I can set up the
And then
sheet.
we'll come back and do this.